So shall we hear some fast pitches? Portland Seed Fund's partner Jen Lynch is here to cheer the 5 early stage finalists that we all saw pitch at Pub Talk a few weeks ago. Jen Lynch is the managing director at Portland Seed Fund. She's been a venture capital partner and angel investor for 10 years with a focus on pre-seed and seed stage deals. Her background is in human capital management, software, and marketing technology. Jen is based here in Bend. Welcome, Jen. I kid you not. I said this at Pub Talk. I feel it every single time. I love working with Jen. I love being on stage with her because she's so good at what she does, but also because I feel like I get smarter just by being near her. So it's always a good day for me to share a stage with Jen Lynch.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thanks for being here. Can you imagine a $30,000 investment depends on your ability to articulate your company in just 3 minutes? 3 minutes is all you have to pique the interest of investors and funds, and welcome to the early stage of Bend Venture Conference. Portland Seed Fund is pleased to return as sponsor, providing investment for and contributing to the cash award for 2020. After each 3-minute pitch, we'll let the audience ask a few questions via the menti.com website using the code that we shared with you. First up is in alphabetical order, ADHERE GEAR Technology Corp from Portland, Oregon. They are deploying shared use luggage and travel gear for passengers to create a safer and cleaner environment for their personal items. Welcome to the stage, CEO Robert Buchanan.
Hi. Give me 1 second.
While Robert's getting set up, I will say it has been a delight going through this process, as it always is. We had almost 40 people apply for this early stage track. This is the top 5. I'm going to take off my mask, Evita style, like somebody else we know. I'm delighted to introduce you to this very first one, Robert Buchanan.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. Have you ever lost your luggage? What a terrible experience it is, right? How about germs? COVID has certainly shown us the need for traveling clean, but is your luggage clean? With all these different moments of exposure, travel begs for the question of, can we do better? As an insulin-dependent diabetic since age 10, I've traveled for years learning to avoid these exact problems, and I can assure you, we can do better. For that reason, I'm here today to share with you the future of travel luggage. Now, my name is Robert Buchanan. I am the founder of ADHERE GEAR Technology. Our company is focused on the deployment of a shared-use smart luggage network for passengers. In travel, we face some serious problems when it comes to our luggage. Exposure to a variety of germs, lost luggage, overweight fees, along with safety concerns in a public space. We found it all boils down to 4 basic questions. What's inside? Where's it going? How much does it weigh? And is it clean? ADHERE GEAR Technology is eliminating these risks with one item we all use, luggage. With hardware and software on the inside, we're creating the opportunity to track luggage, know the weight in real time, and create a clean, safe space. In addition, our luggage is positioned to be 10 times stronger and half the weight of traditional luggage. This allows us to travel clean, safe, and sophisticated. Now, the market's positioned extremely well for these innovations. Travel as a whole is a $7 trillion industry with US luggage at $2.9 billion annually. Despite COVID, travel's not only coming back, it's coming back fast with 1 million passengers per day right now. More than enough volume to see a shared use model do extremely well. So who's our target customer? We're aiming for the business class first. They make up 28% of the market, traveling 3 to 5 days per trip, 6 to 9 trips per year. Collectively, they account for almost 75% of profits. So what's our go-to-market strategy? It's a shared-use B2B model. For $9.99 per passenger per day, a company can offer this smart luggage as a travel work perk to its employees. What's clever is that you'll pick it up and drop it off from where you work. No change in routine. Okay, let's talk traction. We have a working prototype. Our next steps are to slim it down by 70%, produce 100 pilot test units, and deploy focusing on PDX and LAX airports. We're working directly with Autodesk Inc. and are in direct conversations with AirAsia, Travelocity, and JetBlue, just to name a few. Our team is made up of a collection of well-traveled professionals with exceptional experience from Hyatt Resorts, PDX Airport, NASA, Michelin, and Intel. In summary, we're not just here to change luggage. We're here to redefine it. With your investment, we can ensure that those that travel are equipped with the very best tools needed to navigate that experience safely and sustainably. Thank you.
Beautiful pitch.
Thanks, Robert. So shared use, so this means that I check my bag out from
Yes.
work. Okay.
Yes.
As a person who packs at 11 p.m. for my 6 a.m. flight, being able to take it home the night before sounds great. So why do I, as an employee, want to pick this bag rather than my beat-up carry-on that I'm used to carrying?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for starters, it is, if you love the luggage you have now, which is a lot of the case, right? You're gonna love what we're doing because it's 10 times better. Like everything is more robust in it, everything's stronger, it keeps your items sanitized and clean. No more having to worry about this emotional, like, is my lost luggage gonna happen? There's just a lot of benefits that are great for the passenger, so.
And why does a company want to purchase this? How does it save the company time, or how does this create efficiencies for a big company?
Absolutely. So for sure, we're creating a sustainable model. So any company that's interested in looking at travel in general, how do we get it to a better health front and sustainability? That's a big pull for them. But on the passenger level and on the employee level, you want to offer your employees benefits that are going to help improve and position them for these business trips. This gives a lot of confidence as you travel that you're technologically equipped with the right tools, you're going to mitigate your exposure to germs, you're also going to know that your stuff, your personal business items, arrive at their destination. All these different pain points can be eliminated for that average business passenger.
So it seems like when I go to the airport, everybody from TSA to the airlines to the gate agent is in just a panic about the possibility that there may still be a battery in my away bag when I am getting on the plane. It seems
Yes.
like this is a big problem. But if yours is a smart bag, it must
Yes.
have a battery. So how are you getting around this general reluctance?
Yes, that's a fantastic question. The thing that's interesting with batteries is that our luggage is so tiny on the energy. It's a 5-volt system. It's very simplistic. TSA has 2 basic rules. One of them is 300 amp hours, as well as the ability for it to be removed. So their maximum is equivalent to 36 cell phones. Our system that we have built is only equivalent to 6 cell phones. We're not even close to the extreme. The more important factor here, though, is that we're working with TSA and FAA, and we'll continue to do so. So by the time we get to market launch, everybody has given thumbs up and stamp of approval that this is what we need in our system, and we're ready to usher it in. So,
Shannon, are there any online questions?
Yes, actually, for ADHERE Gear, how much do you think you'll ultimately need to raise to get ADHERE Gear product into market?
that's a fantastic question. So $500,000 gets us to our 100 pilot test units, our 1,000 beta test units, and ultimately positions us for our 10,000 unit run. What's interesting about the impact of one luggage on shared use is one luggage has a stretch of 100 passengers in a year, versus traditionally our system we do now, luggage impacts 1 person in a year. So it doesn't take a lot of volume to actually see a big difference. 10,000 units hits 1 million passengers in a year. So.
And we have another question from the audience. Does it have charging ports for devices?
Absolutely, yeah. We have a USB port in the back, and the version that we're looking at to final for market, we're looking at wireless charging. To be able to just put your phone on it and it wirelessly charges.
Beautiful.
So Robert, as you go to market, what sort of company is going to be travel rich and big enough to to support a business like this? Who's your dream customer?
Yeah, I'll be totally honest. Nike has been on our list for a while. We've got a lot of great metrics on how often they travel. They are a very heavily traveled company. They are local to us. So we target the companies that do have essential needs to travel, especially domestic, as well as global. Another great one that we've been working with directly is Autodesk Inc. So I'd say those are our top 2 that we're definitely aiming for.
And this is a perfect question. Ben leads the country in remote workers. My company does not have a location where I travel from. How do you envision overcoming this scenario?
Yeah, so I think what they're asking is if I don't have a locker to go pick up my ADHERE Gear suitcase
Is it next
from,
to the red
can
box?
I still
Right.
can I still use it?
Yes, yes. So remote is something that definitely has come up, especially recently with COVID. We are 50% back in terms of a lot of the employees being back in the office. I've got my fair share of personal networks where some are still at home and some are at work now. So based on that volume, we track, just how many passengers are traveling, and 1 million per day is plenty. Looking at the remote side, our phase 2 is looking at leisure. And so that will make it way more accessible and not having to go to the office. But when we crunched the numbers, we found we're going to start and laser focused on the business class, build a great foundation on that, and then later on, 5 years from now, we'll expand into leisure travel. So.
And will you have rental stations in airports? So that could be another way to solve that problem.
Yes, so we totally have diagnosed a lot of the different business models. Your Blue Rhino, your U-Hauls, your Red Box. We priced out what does it take to create some of those kiosk type of machines for that experience, and we think it's a great for the leisure class once we reach that point. We also think that in terms of economically, the price will probably come down to $4.99 per day by the time we reach leisure. Again, there's way more volume available, so the price, the economics check out. So.
Robert, I don't check a bag very often, but I know part of what led you to work on this product was your own experience kind of being grossed out by what happens to a bag when it gets checked. And I'm curious, can you just tell us, how you came to this idea? What personal experience drove?
Yes, yeah. So it's a twofold answer. So again, going back to the origination for myself, being an insulin-dependent diabetic, for 25 years I've traveled, and it was always a pain to have my personal items always mishandled or exposed. And then things like COVID happen, and it kind of shows that is not an isolated issue just for somebody like a diabetic. Everybody experiences that. So that was the origination of it. But one of the interesting things that we did was we actually went to work at PDX Airport for the 3 a.m. shift. And we wanted to understand exactly how luggage moves throughout the process. So we got to witness and be in there in the trenches and moving these luggages and all these different cargo to see, okay, how much exposure happens, how does this need to be designed so that it can really handle this environment and have a great wear layer for a 5-year shelf life on a shared use product. So yeah, it's between those two that we're building this awesome product that can really impact travel and make it sustainable. Great question.
Very cool. So imagine it is 7 years from now, which is ideally when I would like to get an exit from an investment. Who are you selling ADHERE Gear to, or does it go public, or what happens?
Yes, fantastic question. We envision that's going to be an IPO exit strategy. We do also anticipate, though, that there will be some interesting luggage manufacturers right now, one of them probably being Samsonite, who will take a lot of interest. At the end of the day, though, given the volume of passengers every day that travel, and let's do a pre-COVID was 2.6 million. During COVID, we're at 1 million. It's about a 1.5 year recovery before we hit our 2.6 million again, and it's going to rise from there. There's more than enough business on a daily basis for all the luggage companies to still do their thing. So we think an IPO is going to be our best exit strategy. Yes.
So I think this question sort of elaborates on what you were just speaking to. Why would you not start with leisure and rental stations? What makes the business sector more attractive to your company?
Yes. So the business class is the most technologically savvy in terms of traveling. They're also, their frequency of travel is higher, that rate. So it's 6 to 9 times per year. The average leisure class passenger only travels for about 7 to 14 days, and it's only for 1 to 2 trips. So that volume drops. Yes, there's more of them, but we want to get that frequency going and really build the company off of that first. The economics work out better in terms of accessibility for a leisure class to have even easier access in the office, which is an automated kiosk. But those cost money, so we wanted to build a foundation first that was a very strong cash flow positive company, and then build on there to enter leisure. So 2 great opportunities, but we're focused on business class first.
Robert, you keep saying we. Who is on your team?
Yes. So we have Dr. Micah McCrae. He's a PhD in industrial engineering, fabrics, materials, science, amazing professional individual with an expertise in what we need to do to ensure that we continue to hit our metrics on making sure it's 10 times stronger and half the weight of traditional luggage. Being that we're in the 21st century, we feel like there's an opportunity here to take luggage to that new place and kind of leave the old luggage in the 20th century. Raimundo Garcia has great experience, 10 years in distribution and sales, very critical to as we continue to evolve our model and build that foundation for the business class. So we've been compiling a lot of those lists of the companies in our 2 regions, PDX, Portland, as well as LA, given those are our focal points for right now, and he's been critical in assembling that. So.
Awesome. This last question just says, I want my own, which I don't think is a question. I mean, I know that.
I know. Is that just like a yes or a no, or like, meet me
Same.
after class, or?
Same.
Robert, really beautiful pitch. Thank you so much. I wish you all the luck, and it's great to see you again.
Thank you.
Thanks
you,
for
everyone.
being here. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Cozera from Portland, Oregon, creating verified digital identities for remote and in-person identity verification to increase customer satisfaction and deter identity fraud, saving time and money. Presenting today is CEO Abrar Ahmed.
Thank you. Good to see you. Oh, you got the wipe down. Thank you. Hello, I've already been introduced by EDCO. I'm the founder and CEO of Cozera. And let me ask you, when was the last time you were on the phone and your bank or your cable company asked you to verify your information, your name, your date of birth, the last 4 of your social security, or the color of your dog's eyes? And then they transfer you, and the same question is asked again. Frustrating and ineffective, right? How many of you experienced that? Let me see a show of hands. I thought so. So what if there was a simpler, secure way where we would provide our information one time and we get verified, then we're done? That is why we have Cozera. We're experts in identity management, cryptography, cybersecurity, cloud computing, and fraud prevention. We provide a personal verified digital identity credential called the Cozy ID. It is delivered as an identity service to companies and their customers. Think of it like TSA PreCheck, where you went and got interviewed, and then you get verified, and you gain status as a trusted traveler. And then you get through those security lines really fast. Cozy ID works in a very similar manner. Once you're verified, you are a proven entity. Cozy is a mobile-based credential, and it works for customer interactions, whether you're in person, online, on the phone, or video. It takes about 90 seconds for you to get your Cozy registered, just one time. And then about 10 seconds afterwards to prove your identity with the Cozy ID. Cozy is distributed through service providers directly to the consumers at no charge to them. Our business model is to charge a one-time registration fee and then a transaction fee every time the Cozy is used to verify the identity. So what are the advantages? We call them the 3 Ps. And it's not the Paycheck Protection Program. It's portable across service providers, across platforms, and across use cases. It's private and secure, as you don't share any personal information to verify, and we don't store any sensitive information like that. It is persistent, just like TSA PreCheck. Once you're verified, and then you're done. Our research indicates that the identity service market is a $30 billion addressable market by 2024, and mandatory actually for companies trying to balance security and user experience for fraud prevention. And post-COVID, we've seen a 20% increase for demand for these services. It's a huge opportunity in front of us. Our solution has been validated by some of the top credit unions of Northwest. They have provided us funding, and they've already executed a multi-year license agreement to procure our services. We're currently executing pilots with them. By the way, there's 6,000 credit unions in the US with 100 million members. Vesta, a global fintech provider of fraud applications, has also done a strategic investment with us, and we're working to integrate our services into their platform. We expect to reach millions of consumers through them. Cozera, the digital identity that you will need. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done.
Thank you.
Jen, take it away.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to one more time go through what this is going to be like for a consumer once she has a Cozy. So this is something I sign up for on my credit union
App.
and then when I call, in the part where I'm supposed to type in my account number, or like how does this streamline that process?
So thank you for that question. So the use case basically is it's in-app, and basically there's an in-app function to just dial, and all you got to do is tap it. It'll go directly into the call center, and it sends you what we call a secure push notification. It will actually have the logo of the CU on your phone versus an SMS or text that you don't know where it's coming from. And then it guides you to say, let's do a biometric verification. And as soon as you do that, secure information is passed back to them, and they can actually greet you with your name, and you don't pass any sensitive information. And the same use case applies whether you're on video, drive-up teller, in person, whatever you do. It's the same experience. That was one of the things we did to make sure it's consistent, and you don't have to remember anything. You know how to use your phone, right? So that's the only thing you got to remember.
Okay, that makes sense. And how do I get one in the first place?
So the credit unions or our enterprise customer service providers will promote that directly to their base. They have marketing programs. They're going to offer that to you through marketing literature or whatever, that they have a secure identity for you to sign up. So it's going to be promoted by them.
Okay. Bar, I am assuming that you started this company for a better reason than you were just annoyed at repeating your mother's maiden name into the phone. Where did the company come from? Where did the idea come from?
So I have a lot of background in identity. In fact, previously I worked for the Department of Defense and Homeland Security and Identity Verification, but that was a different gig. And when I left them, I was annoyed and I was frustrated and managing all of these things. And I said, look, I've done this before. Let's go get it. And when we went out and we spoke to healthcare, banks, enterprises, others, they were all, yes, we would like to have a solution like that.
Okay. And is this something that could have existed before phones did biometric identification, or is this like when
Yes.
it's time for this?
That's a great question. So you had those smart cards. I don't know if you guys remember with a chip.
For the RSA token?
Right. But it just wasn't as comfortable. And the consumer with the mobile phone, right? I mean, it gives you all these capabilities. And we also, by the way, leveraged a lot of the native capabilities of the mobile phone from a security perspective, which has allowed us to really bring this to market.
And so is this, like, what about a person who just has a landline? And I know there's like 4 people that applies to, but would they, what's their
Yes,
option?
That's, that comes up quite a bit, so I would say go get a mobile phone. But I think, mobile phones are going to definitely prevail. But if there is a landline, we do have other methods for using a Cozy, but it is a mobile phone-based identity credential. You have to have that with you.
2 cans in a string. Okay, I think you've already answered this. How often do you have to re-verify identity? Or I think I know the answer to this.
You don't. Remember, it's one and done. And that's the beauty of the product. You don't have to share. You don't have to do that again. That's the whole part of being a trusted traveler, just like TSA PreCheck. That's what the Cozy does for you.
Is this cost effective for any 2FA need?
Okay, so the way we measure that is basically with our enterprise customers. We have been able to save them on operational efficiencies. They've already tested this out, and we can save them more than 60 to 70% of their identity verification ongoing costs. And for the consumer, it's much faster.
And we've been talking about this now for a couple of months, and I bank in a bunch of different places, and one bank has the weirdest process where the person on the other end of the phone sends me an email. She puts whatever she wants in the subject line, and then I have to read that back to her on the phone. Sometimes it's fine. Sometimes it's very awkward, like what was in her brain at the time. And that's what you mean by operational efficiency. She's writing those emails by hand, right?
Or generating some secret questions that she wants to challenge you. And by the way, they're susceptible to man-in-the-middle attack, and you don't even know what the source is. You may be just giving them out directly.
So how is your system more secure? So like what's happening on the back end that makes a Cozy better than this email?
Makes you warm and fuzzy? Yes, I get it. Cozy, right? So I can't divulge the trade secrets, but we do leverage cryptography, biometrics, and some native features on the mobile phone and how we package it together, which is far superior than what is, I believe, available in the market, especially for when you get attacks for social, like phishing, or man-in-the-middle attacks, or somebody's trying to steal your identity.
Do you know, so I know you're going to market in credit unions and that you've raised money or taken engineering contracts from credit unions. How big of a market is identity verification for the credit union sector or for the financial services sector in general?
For about 100% market penetration? Probably
Like
between-
how much do banks spend on identity
So,
verification in a
okay,
year?
thank you. So let's say the credit unions we're working with, right? They're about 100,000 members, right? That's what they have. So they spend somewhere between $600,000 to $750,000 a year on identity verification and authentication costs. So you can, multiply because there's different sizes of credit unions, but it does add up to close to $500 million, if not more, if you do the math.
And is DOD a prospect?
Yes, it is. However, maybe later on. There's a long sales cycle, but it is a prospect. They have some other secure methods as well, too.
Okay.
That was sort of a coy answer, but
Have you thought about using this tool for age identification example to support the OLCC? Which is
Yes, of course, we're going to explore new markets as well, right? That's the initial toehold that we have with the credit unions. We also have talked to regional banks and community banks, and we've gotten some great positive feedback as well. I think even, yes, OMS, potentially with the app developers and going to retail commerce. So we have lots, and we have to focus as a small company, but definitely that's a possibility for us.
I dislike this question because it sort of is casting some shade on my pretend Montana driver's license that I carried all the way through college. So if you are doing other forms of identification or other forms of authentication, do I still get to carry my cozy around from vendor to vendor? And like when I sign up once, like I said, I think I have accounts with 3 banks. Is the vision that this is a thing that is universal?
Correct. That's exactly right. That's what we want to leverage and move towards that. So you don't have to have, what is the average? I think 90 accounts a person is now maintaining. And that's just online, and then you have the in-person, and the different questions are asked, and if you do video, depending on your relationship, it's complex. We want to simplify that.
How is it one and done if you don't store information?
Well, we don't store any sensitive information, such as your social security or date of birth. What we do store is your phone number, your name, and your address, because that is used to pass to the relying party, the one who wants to verify. And that's encrypted and stored.
So if I'm a bank, and again, there are whole security teams, like this is a job inside a bank, is to be data security. Why should they trust this tiny startup from Portland, Oregon, with this incredibly complicated and important process?
Well, so I'm kind of give you a joking answer. Besides my good looks, we do have the capability with our team to do security. My CTO is an expert in cryptography. I have a pretty strong background in public key infrastructure as well, right? So we have some strong team and backing, and we've developed a product that's very secure. And they audit it, and these credit unions, information security people have audited us. They have gone into and looked at our architecture, and they're very comfortable.
So we're going back just previous a moment. It would be really fantastic if enterprises like Compass, Chase, Wells Fargo, and others use this. What is your strategy to onboard larger customers? I think we're all into it. So what's the strategy to get there?
Well, again, I will tell you I agree. Let them come to me, and we're ready to sell to them. Well, we want to first build out the product and get it with the credit unions and regional banks so we have an established base. I think that will be required to go to them, but certainly we can approach them, and that will be part of our plan as we grow.
Any more?
Do we have any more audience questions? Oh, here we go. Can you use this as internal company verification for information systems access for a workplace?
Yeah, so early on in our journey, that question was also asked, and basically it can, but we're focusing right now on the consumer. So, we want to chew as much as we can and digest before we expand, but it certainly is possible, absolutely.
So when could I, if I am a customer of one of your credit unions, when could we expect to see this in the wild? Is it getting close?
Q1.
Q1. Excellent. Good answer.
I think we're all looking forward to Q1 2021. Okay, I work at a big bank, and we have an application to do this already. Who are your competitors?
So the big banks, basically the application is either you're going to get a token or you're going to maybe get a biometric, but that's not a proven identity. That's your username, password being passed to them, And sometimes if you still go, they will ask you to re-verify you. We have approached that and we've done it. So, and who are our competitors? You know, there's plenty of people in this space, but what we do is a little unique, right? There's what we call identity verification that do the front end, and then there's authentication like Okta and others, but they haven't jumped into the space of doing a consumer digital identity yet.
Hey, thank you so much, Abar.
Beautiful
Thank
pitch.
you.
Thanks, Abrar. It's
Thank you
wonderful
so
to
much.
have you. Next to take the stage is Masa from Portland, Oregon, the first online farmers market, bringing farmers markets to people via an online marketplace. Think Etsy for farmers. Welcome to the stage, Pub Talk Audience Award-winning duo Trang Sharbaugh and Trang Ho.
Hi, my name is Trang Ho. This is my co-founder, Trang Sharbaugh, and we're building MasaFresh.com, the first online farmers market. With $1,200 in seed capital, we'll build into a cash flow positive company in just 12 months. With Masa, now a local farmer can own an account, list products, manage orders, and benefit from a fulfillment service to customers. For the first time, they can seamlessly run a direct-to-consumer business at a low 10% cost, 10% fee, very low compared to the 40% markup that online groceries like Milk Run use. Shoppers can now enjoy the farmers market experience from the comfort of their home, pick and choose from multiple vendors, get to know local farmers and producers, and enjoy fresh goods never stored in a warehouse. Our startup costs are low because we don't store inventory up front, allowing us to pay vendors more while offering a large selection of products. We now have more than 500 products from 50 active vendors on Masa. Oops. So how does Masa work? Wednesday midnight is our order deadline. Thursday morning, vendors review order summaries, and optimized routes are assigned to contract drivers. Saturday morning, vendors drop off products to our pop-up station at PSU Farmers Market, where most of the vendors already attend. And our team then aggregates the products, aggregates the products into individual orders and have them ready for pickup or delivery within a few hours.
So how do we earn money? Vendors pay us 10% on every sale. Shoppers pay $750 for delivery, and for on-site pickup, it's 4% of the total order value. We launched last September, and officially this April 2020. And after just 5 months, we have achieved more than 1,000 orders and close to $80,000 in revenue, with average order value at $70. Our monthly revenue growth is at 30%. We have expanded our deliveries into now include Beaverton, Lake Oswego, Tigard, Milwaukee, and Vancouver. We scale fast and cheap by partnering up with farmers market, who help us to promote Masa to their vendors. It takes vendors about 15 minutes to set up a profile, and as soon as their listings are up and running, they can start selling, all at $0 cost. This onboarding process happened only one time, while these vendors already attend 5 to 10 other markets in the region, which help us to expand to different cities quickly. Chang's experience in running high-growth teams and my expertise in market trends and customer development are crucial for us to build new product and market. Masa is a capital-efficient company driven by results. We achieved all of this organic growth with, again, just $1,200 in seed capital. So with your investment of $30,000, we expect to grow 20 times in 18 months, expanding into 6 cities in Pacific Northwest, 5 in Oregon, and 1 in Washington. Thank you, and we're so excited to answer more of your questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trang and Trang. So these guys presented at our Upstart Day Pub Talk several weeks ago here in Bend, and that is an audience choice event where people in the audience can vote. And these guys won, and it was not even close. So clearly, there was a demand from the folks in the room that day for some kind of online farmers market experience. And so tell me how you So obviously people want this, right? And you wanted it, otherwise you wouldn't have come up with the product. So how did you get started? Did you have to go knock on farm doors? Did you have farmers market experience yourself? Like, where did the company come from?
Yeah, actually, so when we first started, Chang and I are actually high school friends. So we reconnected in 2016 when Chang was traveling in the US and I was living in Southern California at the time. And we were both at kind of an impasse in our careers. We wanted to do something that we really believe in, but didn't really know what. And we took a class together on human-centered design. And we really believe in the process because it basically is the idea that you get to know your customers, the users first, before you actually build the product. And both of us are from Vietnam, and we love fresh goods, and we kind of grew up, seeing our moms just going to the markets every day in the morning and get the freshest items and then cook that day. So for us, we really missed that experience in the US, and we realize that there's a lot of people that want that connection to the farmers and want the connection to the where the food comes from. And my background is in e-commerce, and Chang's background is in market trends and marketing. So we realized that we can use our skills in helping the farmers in direct to consumer, which is how they can actually maximize their profit margin.
So tell me more about what it's like for the farmer. So these are farmers who are already selling at the farmers markets at which you have Masa Fresh pickup stations, right? So they're already coming. So what does the farmer have to do in order to sell to your audience as well as to the in-person farmers market customers?
Yeah, so just to add a bit to the previous question and answer your question, when we've reconnected and started the project, we actually took a class on human-centered design, and the whole process is about being open-minded and really dig deep into ethnographic research to understand the needs and the challenges of the people that we design some product to serve them and to be useful for them. So we have run close to 1,000 interviews with many different farmers of all levels and all the key players in the food and agriculture industry to understand the ecosystem and all the challenges across all the stakeholders. Therefore, after many prototypes, we have found this group of small-scale farmers who right now only have some direct-to-consumer channels, like the farmers market and CSA, and we've realized that they are so busy. It's kind of like running a startup on top of farming itself. So how can we design something that doesn't change their workflow so much, but then can still help them to get more direct-to-consumer sales? And that's when they would apply the same process of harvesting. So if they sell on the market on Saturday, they usually need to go to the farm to harvest on Thursday or Friday, right? So that's why the weekly order deadline is Wednesday. And then on Thursday morning, they know the list of the order summary, and then they can go harvest. So the product that they bring to Masa is the same product that they go to the farmer's market.
So it sounds like you could scale on a bunch of different dimensions, which would be the number of farmers in your network, or the number of farmers markets that you serve, or the number of orders that you're passing out each week at a farmer's market. So where do you go first? Like, what's the next, let's say you win and you raise some money, where would you invest next on scaling?
Yeah, that's a really good question. For us, the vendor onboarding cost is actually quite low because we already have a really streamlined onboarding process, and a lot of them already attend multiple markets across the region. So for us we only onboard them once, and they're already ready to sell for other markets in other cities. We want to spend most of the money actually on customer acquisition and just building a really robust a lot of robust campaigns, offline and online. And then the second part is, to continue building our proprietary technology to serve bigger markets and multiple markets.
I know that you've already started working with farmers in Portland and you've experienced some really, really amazing results. And I'm wondering if you could speak to how this is benefiting your farmers more specifically.
So for many farmers who join Masa, they already come to the markets and go through the same process of preparing, staffing, set up the booth and everything, right? So since COVID, they got extremely hit at the beginning of the loss of sales to restaurants, and also the queue up of people with the social distancing to get into the farmers market with limited number of people per period of time really decrease their sales. So with Masa, we have helped them to gain a lot more sales. So our best, one of the best farmers, she sells about more than $1,000 of produce per week by just one delivery day with Masa. And she's very excited when we talk about the second delivery day.
So great.
I'm going to ask this question in a slightly different way from the audience about how the company will need to grow in order to scale. And because we've talked about how you guys are using, I think, an API to do your delivery driver planning. So just explain about how the food actually gets into the hands of consumers. Like, are those Masa employees who drive cars around Portland on Saturdays and work at the farmers market, or are those contractors? Or like, how do you do this with such a small group of people?
Yeah, so right now we employ contract drivers to do the deliveries for Masa, and we're actually using our own technology in-house, so currently not using any API yet, but that's actually, we're in talks with Postmates to potentially use an API integration with their technology and pool of drivers. But for us right now, we really are focused on figuring out what the unique needs for our shoppers and the drivers, and figure out how we can actually solve and bring value to them. Because right now, for our drivers, they're actually in a much better situation than other kind of gig economy out there. We give them a 2-day notice, and the routes are sent 2 days beforehand, and they're pre-optimized so that they're maximizing their time. And on average, they usually get paid about around $18 to $30 an hour, depending on the route. So it's actually really, really really good pay.
So this is an interesting question. Can customers connect directly with the farmers during the market off-season as well?
Yeah, I mean, so right now we're working with PSU. It's a year-round market, but we realize that we're just leveraging the physical farmers market right now because there's no extra effort for the farmers. But eventually when we scale and there's huge volume, there's no stopping the farmers from dropping off products to our pop-up station, which can be set anywhere. So we think that anywhere, anytime that farmers need to sell, we'll be there.
I love that. So how are you going to compete with other online farmers markets? Is the strategy more focused on local ecosystems?
Are they really online farmers market? Because from our research, we think that a lot of them are online grocery stores. So what they do is they have warehouse, they buy wholesale from local farmers and resell them. But for us, it's a platform. So people own their account, list their products, deactivate or activate their products when they have it in hand. So 80% of the vendors who list on Masa are people who already sell at the markets, but 20% are even startup farmers or permacultural farmers that you won't see in a farmer's market. So that's why when you experience Masa, you would see a very unique selection of goods that I don't think other farmers market can copy because it's just a different model.
Excellent. So what is the size of the total addressable market in the US?
That's a great question. So we believe that our target market is between 30 to 60 in age, and right now at a middle to a little bit higher income in the US. So that comes to around 12 million people. And because we are building a new market, we believe, so basically it's going to be, we calculate to around $21 billion, which is going to be our market value, and the total market size is about 70 billion in the US.
And our last question is, when are you coming to Bend? So there's some interest here.
Next year.
Next year, very good.
We're
Well,
already.
oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, sorry. We're already in talks, and we'd love to do a visit again and do like a big farm tours and talk to more farmers and visit the farmers markets here. So to get ready for next year launch.
I think if we address one thing in our culture, it was food. It really solves so many different problems. So I really admire what you're doing. Thank you so much. Beautiful pitch today. Lovely to see you again.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
3 down, 2 to go, Jen. Now, I'd like to introduce MustDeliver from Portland, Oregon, a digital marketplace delivering industry-leading clarity, control, and communication between shippers and drivers in the trucking business. Presenting for MustDeliver is co-founder and CEO Carrie Love. Welcome back, Carrie.
Thank you. Yes, as introduced, Carrie Love, CEO and co-founder of MustDeliver. So I get asked a lot, why do I want to disrupt the US trucking industry? And for me, it's easy. I grew up in northern Maine. I'm from a massive family, and my older brothers were truck drivers. So I spent time in the front cabs of logging trucks, of dump trucks, of potato trucks. And so as an entrepreneur, as I dug into this business, I realized not only are these small owner-operators and small carriers being mistreated by the traditional freight broker model, they're also essentially being disregarded by the tech newcomers of Convoy and Uber Freight. So for me, that means there is opportunity in this industry to democratize the trucking industry by building a community of supported and vetted independent owner-operators and a company that is driver first. So the problem in this $800 billion industry, the problem is the traditional freight broker. Their lack of transparency and their antiquated work practices cause major mistrust between the three-sided relationship of the commercial shipper, the broker, and the independent owner-operator. MustDeliver, well, we're a digital freight marketplace. We have a web and mobile-based system that essentially will replace the freight broker. So, drivers and shippers, this is super important. They'll have direct communication with each other, and they will have transparent pricing. This is the first in our target market. And we charge a simple 10% fee on all transactions that run through our marketplace. Target market. So out of that $800 billion I keep mentioning, $100 billion is attributed to small and medium manufacturers. This is our target market. And currently they're being underserved by freight brokers today. All right, traction. So we've partnered with a manufacturer who's located in Kentucky. They have a national footprint, but out of their headquarters in Kentucky, we're moving 2 to 6 loads a week for them right now and charging for it. And they have up to 75 a week that could move to us as we build that driver side, right? So in that same area, the Midwest, I'm recruiting drivers right now. They were signing up this morning. They're interacting with the app, and they're getting rewards for doing it. Our tech is built. It's actually supporting our operations in the Midwest today. My team has over 100 years combined experience in sales leadership, machine learning, and B2B marketplace. My advisory board has really credible experience on the trucking side from Freightliner and Daimler. So the use of proceeds today is very simple for us. On the demand side, which is my shipper side, I'm going to add 1 to 2 salespeople, and they're going to be working directly with the shippers and fielding the interests that we're already having. Now, on the supply side, my driver side, we're just going to continue to support the viral customer acquisition efforts that we have going. In summary, my passion for trucking, my experience in it, I am absolutely ignited to push the industry forward with price transparency first in this target market, and we are actively moving loads right now in the Midwest and generating revenue. Thank you so much.
Well done. Well done.
Carrie, and she is passionate about trucking, and you would have to be in order to do a startup that goes up against Uber and Convoy, which basically have their own Federal Reserve vault underneath their office headquarters with which to build companies. So as a software investor, one of the things that creeps me out the most is when an entrepreneur says, we're going to replace this antiquated industry, and they're all doing things on paper and pencil, or they're all doing it in Excel, which is the 21st century version of paper and pencil. And I think, how on earth is she going to convince these crusty freight brokers or crusty owner-operator truckers to use an app rather than what they have been doing, which is pick up the phone?
Well, first of all, I won't convince a freight broker of anything besides getting out of the way. The drivers, I'm already in contact with a number of them. I have 5 on speed dial. I'm talking to them. I've done interview after interview. The technology revolution in trucking is happening. These drivers are using apps currently, but what resonates with our app is A, it's free to them, and B, it shows all the price transparency. That is an emotional, first they don't believe it, and they call me back and they're like, what are you talking about? And then they see it in the app. So, but for the shipper side, we are targeting these small to mid-sized manufacturers, but when you come into them and you're saying, I have a vetted group of owner-operators, 1 to 3 trucks, they are ready to move your load, you know exactly where the money's going as well, they're looking for a solution because they have a list of freight brokers and they basically start at the top and move through them. Now, not all freight brokers are terrible and some of them have good relationships. But the 2 target markets that we're talking about are absolutely ready for change.
So your network is already moving stuff around.
Oh, yeah.
What have you moved so far?
Yeah, so our partner in Kentucky, they produce gel packs for home delivery, which of course has been very popular because of COVID, as well as pharmaceutical products. So we've been moving their gel packs for them on a weekly basis into Chicago, as well as Atlanta is opening soon.
Shannon, I'm going to read this one because I had the same question, which is, Uber, Freight, and Convoy are focused on full truckload as opposed to LTL, less than truckload. That's my only trucker lingo is LTL. Why aren't they doing LTL? Because this is where you're going to market, right?
Yeah. Well, first of all, LTL, it's difficult, right? There's lots of pieces. Partial truckload is also classified there, which is super, we can also service. But honestly, we're also moving full truckload right now. It is, I know that there's segments, but what happens is you go to the shipper and they have all of them, and you have to be able to service them. These smaller ones do have their fair share of LTL, but you can't be limited to just one type of moving freight. You have to be able to service all of them, which we are doing.
So so tell me about the things that a driver gets by using your service.
Ask again, I'm sorry, I read that.
Oh, you were reading the question. Why, if I'm a driver, what are the benefits of using your system besides price transparency? We talked about that.
So obviously price transparency is very important to them, but also being able to allow their shipper to track them. They don't have that technology internally. These owner-operators, 1 truck, 1 driver, up until the 5 truckloads the 5 trucks that we're kind of targeting right now, they don't have the infrastructure to support that tech. So when we sit down and we talk to them, we're telling them that loads will be matched intelligently to their drivers. The shipper's going to have these added value of being able to track in-transit updates. It's very attractive to them.
And then they're also rewarded for referring other truck drivers, right?
Yeah. We've already had that started. When I started to do this, I had 5, and the next thing I know, let me tell you one thing about trucking. It is based on relationships. I do this because of my relationships. My relationships help me with the drivers at the get-go. They also help me with the shippers. So as soon as that word of mouth starts, it was insane how we went from, tentatively 5, and now we're, around 100. That happened very quickly. Because our core value is driver. We're driver focused. It's different than the other competitors out there that are demand focused or shipper focused.
That's great. Okay, so I love and hate this question. How will this concept adapt once these are self-driving trucks? Who wrote this question?
Well, so certainly there's lots of discussion about driverless trucks. That is many years in the future. The last MIT tech review I read, I think, was 2017, and what they said was that cars in cityscapes, absolutely quicker. Trucks on highways, much more time needed. Our infrastructure is poor, the investment has been made, the vehicles have to react to signage around them, We don't have guaranteed truck lanes like they do in Europe. So we're far away from automated trucking.
So a manufacturer is paying for this service with a percentage of
10%.
10%. And how does that compare to what they would pay a freight broker, a human, to do this work?
Yeah, so freight brokers average based on internal research, multiple sources. They average about 15 to 17% right now. Now, we talk to drivers and we've talked to freight brokers and we know that it varies. So for them, it's a pretty simple equation. And when they also know there's no flexing on that, we're staying right there at 10%.
And how does the cost of a shipment get calculated? Is it just distance, or are there, like, what are the ways?
Oh, it's super dynamic. There's lots of things that feed into our pricing model. So it's seasonal, it's per mile, there's a fuel, we're factoring in fuel, and our best resource, honestly, for that, even though there's all sorts of APIs you can draw off in and all sorts of data sources that you can use, are the drivers. They're telling us what they're getting for these lanes because they want us to be successful.
And a lane is?
Yeah, a lane is a trucking lane. So lots of lanes in the country. We're Louisville to Chicago, Louisville to Atlanta, Louisville. So those are considered lanes.
Cool.
Yeah.
So if you had to pick one place, these multi-sided marketplaces can be challenging to scale because you generally have to feed capital into all parts of them in order to, and truly get big. So with a limited amount of capital, where do you go first? Like, what's the side of the marketplace you want to grow
We're
fastest?
supply side first. We need this community of drivers. They support each other, they support our concepts, and we want them to be working with us and referring other drivers in. They're also now interested in referring shippers in their area because they're so committed to the price transparency. So we are focused on the driver, and we've already seen success in that too. As shippers, when they say to us, oh, it's a MustDeliver driver coming in, they're vetted, they're supported, and they're going to do a good job.
Yeah, I love that this is like an opportunity to elevate the entire industry. It's really beautiful. So can you sell to large manufacturers who have their own platform?
Well, we prefer not to right now. I'll tell you why. So I'm going to use some lingo. So TMSs, right? Expensive, large manufacturers, they create but they buy into them, they implement them, and then they use 50% of it, right? So we're targeting freight brokers, manufacturers using freight brokers, and have not taken that step for the TMS. It's a massive endeavor for them. And we're going to hit them right at the sweet spot so we can grow with them. So for large manufacturers, they have routines that they already have set, and we feel like that's future for us as we have more of a supply side. But right now, we're really focused on that sweet spot of the small to medium-sized manufacturers that haven't done that big tech investment yet.
And will the app include oversized or specialized freight?
Yeah, so funny enough, we launched this with dry vans, so 53-foot dry vans. That's what you see on the highways the majority of the time. And as we were building the supply side, we're getting flatbeds signing up, we're getting refrigerator trailers signing up. I'm literally calling these people and saying to them, like, I'm so excited you're on our platform, but you have to give me time to get those loads. Those aren't the loads we're really targeting right now. And they're like, we're with you. Like, price transparency, you're giving this to us for free, we'll wait. But yeah, we already have the resources to do this. Again, we're talking in the Midwest in our launch area into the Southeast.
And how will your app handle security, vetting, and insurance?
Yeah, so we're already doing it. So the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, it's public information. So we're able to go in and verify that they have a valid MC number. They upload all of their insurance paperwork through our app. It's reviewed and verified. And then what we're doing is we're really going into the driver who has safe miles. These drivers, some of them drive 100,000 miles a year. So safe miles is that, no accidents, no violations within a certain number of miles. So we're really using those drivers to, recruit other drivers and to also put in those steps in place to make sure that we're connected with the right drivers who are doing that on a regular basis for themselves.
Just a really impressive pitch, and I love your energy and your passion. So thanks for coming back. I'm wishing you the best of luck and totally
Yeah.
cheering you on.
Thank you so much.
You
Thanks,
got it,
Carrie.
Carrie. Thank you. Our final early stage company to present is Yes OMS from here in Bend. This is a platform for merchants and brand owners to offer a superior user experience to their customers through their own branded mobile application. Welcome, founder and CEO Taylor Mahoney. Where are you, Taylor? You're right behind me.
Awesome. How's everyone doing? Good. I'm doing great. 2020 has been a tough year for merchants. A global pandemic has basically rewritten the rules for in-person commerce, threatening extinction for those unwilling or unable to innovate. Add to that that merchants are competing with large chains that have large budgets, large teams, and sticky branding. It's a difficult landscape, to be sure. For example, did you know that in 2019, Starbucks did over 40% of their $26.5 billion in revenue via their branded mobile app? Not their website or their mobile website, but the Starbucks app. It's a pretty magical customer experience, to be sure. It has an integrated payment system. It allows their customers to order ahead, to pay ahead of time, to skip the line, to grab their coffee and be on their way. With 23.4 million users, the Starbucks app is the most prolific digital wallet in the United States today. It's larger than Apple Pay, and it's larger than Google Pay. Now, in the rest of the world, it's a little bit of a different story. Digital wallets are quickly eclipsing credit cards and cash as the preferred payment method. They represent the largest innovation in payments since the cash register was invented in 1879, and they are the future of commerce. In 2020, merchants need new tools. They need to provide magical customer experiences by accepting payments without cards or cash, by understanding, adapting, and optimizing their in-store workflow, and to build brand stickiness through skip-the-line sorts of experiences. They need to focus on delighting their customers instead of paying their staff to mindlessly key in orders to a point-of-sale system. The opportunity for disruption is ripe. If you're wondering if this is possible today, I'm here to say the answer is yes. Yes OMS is the future of the magical customer experience at scale. We're driving the cashless, cardless, touch-free, skip-the-line, grab-it-and-go experiences of the future. We offer something akin to a white-label version of the Starbucks app that's easily brandable by merchants or digital marketing agencies. You can think of us as a Squarespace, but instead of building websites, we help people build commerce-enabling mobile applications in just minutes with no technical expertise whatsoever. We have solutions for self-service models like coffee shops and drive-thrus, for full-service models like restaurants and pubs, and for geographically co-located merchants like food truck parks and events. We allow any in-person merchant to dramatically drive revenue while remaining digitally relevant and innovative. My name is Taylor Mahoney, and I'm the founder of Yes OMS. I'm a seasoned product veteran, working most recently at PayPal in the international money transfer space. I've built a team of 5 employees, as well as an advisory team of over 10 industry experts in payments, design, digital marketing, branding, security and compliance, and subject matter experts in food, coffee, beer, and wine. Yes OMS is currently pre-revenue, and we have a working MVP. We're working with local merchants to learn, validate, and adjust our offering. And branded apps are just the beginning. Our vision is a consolidated ecosystem where merchants protect their most valuable asset, the repeat customer. So if you are wondering if the future will be different in terms of commerce, if merchants can thrive in a COVID and post-COVID era, the answer is yes, with Yes OMS. Thank you.
Well done.
Thanks, Taylor. So those of you who were here for the panel discussion before we came on stage might have heard Betsy mention Living Social and Groupon and the fact that they raised $6 gazillion, I think she said, in order to sell to local merchants, coffee shops, bars, restaurants. So how do you envision selling Yes OMS to that similar audience without $6 gazillion?
Yes, so we don't plan on taking $6 gazillion because that model clearly has been disproven. So basically, we have a great go-to-market plan. We have, the typical marketing strategy, the SEO, the organic search, this sort of thing. But we also have a very unique kind of gamification of our go-to to market. So basically, you can imagine us as a user experience type of gamification. So basically, what we do is we reward those who've had an amazing customer experience at one merchant to go recruit other merchants. And so that basically, we incentivize them through, let's say, you've had this experience at Thump Coffee, and then you're going to take it over to Back Porch Coffee. These are local merchants. You say, what, I had this amazing experience. I would like to work with Back Porch Coffee and have these similar sort of experience. We're going to incentivize you to go ahead and get that sale for us. So it's basically a style of guerrilla marketing that basically goes to the consumers to find our merchants.
I told you that I think one of the dumbest financial things that I do, and I have an MBA in finance from an Ivy League school, I give Starbucks $50 ahead of time and allow them to keep that money until I go into Starbucks enough times to spend the money. And they're making money off the float of me and everybody else in America. Yep. Is this how you're going to do it too? Like, you're going to have a virtual wallet, or are you going to use other payment mechanisms to actually process?
That is a great question. So yes, Starbucks has been coming into this basically from the card model, from having the Starbucks running balance, if you will. So we're actually taking it a little bit differently. You can basically order ahead of time, and you pay with your biometrics, so your thumbprint or your face print, and your facial scan, and basically from there the purchase is made, and then you just grab it and go. Now this is just the tip of the iceberg. Obviously, every merchant should have their own loyalty program, and once they have their own app, they have their own loyalty program. This can include cards where they put a balance on. This is basically all of the bells and whistles that these large brands have that differentiate them from a brand stickiness point of view can now be democratized among the smaller merchants. Because as a merchant, once you have your app, and I'm not talking the Square app or the Toast app, I'm talking about the Back Porch Coffee app in my pocket, or the 10 Barrel app in my pocket. I'm reachable at any point in the time, during the day or night. We could run a special run just for VIPs like me to come in, hey, try our new beer at 10 Barrel. Send them a push notification, get them in the door. This is brand stickiness. This is what really differentiates the big, deep pocket companies, and they know this. And the merchants should be able to leverage this as well.
What does OMS mean?
Great question. I'm glad you asked. OMS stands for Order Management System, and it perfectly describes what I'm building, what we're building. It's basically an optimization system for merchants so that they can look at their workflow. So we're offering new tools to merchants so they can see where in their pipeline they may be having issues. It is distinctly different than a POS, because we are basically rewriting purchases entirely. So we're going to replace the POS with an OMS.
How much does it cost the local coffee shop to sign up?
Great question. The revenue model is very straightforward. So the alternative is basically to go hire a development team, right, or a shop, and that's a huge upfront investment. I mean, Starbucks has 15 some odd developers, and an app is not just to build it once and set it and forget it. You have to deal with maintenance, all of this stuff. So you have to have that person on staff all the time. We're basically we're taking that on ourselves with YesOMS, and the merchant only has a small upfront startup cost to have some skin in the game and to really, start to use our product. But then they pay basically on a transaction level. So we'll take anywhere from 2 to 5% on every transaction that has been conducted on the YesOMS platform. So it is a zero or negligibly zero risk for merchants to try and to make progress. And we only will succeed, we will only put revenue in their pocket when we are driving revenue to their pocket.
Taylor, in the before times, I used to go downstairs in the elevator in my office building and buy lunch at a chain of deli stores in Portland. And I've been in that office for 7 years. I want to say that chain has had 7 different app-based loyalty programs in the 7 years that I've been going down there and getting a cup of soup for lunch. Why are merchants so flaky about these apps? Like, how do you make YesOMS the thing that they sign up for and stick with instead of ripping out every 12 months when they get bored?
Sure. So they may be changing loyalty programs, but they're never changing their brand. Their brand is what defines them, and YesOMS enables them to augment their brand. So it is the new way of doing things, but it's also the only way that they need to do it, because their brand, it is their own app. Our tagline, one of them, is your brand, your mobile app. So that's what differentiates us. We are here to provide the customer experience that they are already perfecting through the in-store process and bringing it to a platform so they can remain digitally relevant and drive revenue like crazy.
How will you compete with other no-code app development software? Are you using a what you see is what you get style, no-code development environment?
So we are building a no-code environment, basically, for mobile apps. So how will we compete with other no-code development software? Well, ours is easier. Ours requires no technical expertise. If you can write content, if you can put together a menu with your prices and your colors and maybe snap a picture of your item, that's all you need. So are we deploying a WYSIWYG, or what you see is what you get? Absolutely. And you can go onto our website right now. Everyone, I would encourage you to do this right now. build.yesoms.com. You can build your own app. You can see it right there in screen on a simulator, and you can take it right to your device in a trial mode today.
So do people want all these individual apps on their phone? This is such a good question for you.
This is a great question. So yes, the immediate reaction to this is, oh my goodness, my phone's going to be littered with a whole bunch of brands. Well, first of all, if you have the Starbucks app, that's because you're a Starbucks person. If you have the Phil's app, Phil's is a great coffee shop down in the Bay Area where I was before this. You have the Phil's app. You are a brand ambassador already, right? So it's not too crazy to imagine that you're going to have a Thump app or a Back Forest Coffee app or a 10 Barrel app. But let's say you do. We have plans to have a consolidated app, one for coffee, one for beer, one for events. And so basically we have, as my CFO likes to call it, one app to rule them all, per vertical, and then each vertical gets branded differently.
Certainly easier than managing like 74 little punch cards, which, I'm the worst at. It lowers my self-esteem. I'm so bad at managing it. I got to choose one. It's not cool. Well, any other questions for you, Jen? From you, Jen?
I'm curious about who you would see as a partner for you when you think about go-to-market, like a way to go to market faster than relying on the viral spread of your customers and your consumers to grow.
So I feel that an amazing product. So I worked for PayPal on a product called Zoom. It's an amazing product, and the product, the fact the product is amazing, is the best marketing strategy that you can possibly have. So I'm going to put a lot of effort into building an amazing product. I'm a product person. I'm also the head developer, so we can iterate very quickly. But we've also brought on a staff of folks who know all about this, who have experience, in cold calls, warm calls, and in biz dev and marketing efforts. So the answer to your question is make an amazing product, make an amazing customer experience, leverage that, and then pour gas on the fire with marketing efforts.
Always a pleasure, Taylor. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
and I'm
Jen.
really rooting for you. It's always lovely to hear you pitch.
Great.
Awesome questions,
Taylor.
Jen.
Thanks, everybody.